Recording in progress.
Hi, and welcome to Gamers exPlane Qralloqian lore, secret tips and tricks to using exPlane. Now, this trick will apply to play-by-post in many sites, but I'm not entirely sure on how the details would work elsewhere, so we'll just focus on exPlane. Now, you can see on the screen here, what we've got here is a grid-based battle map. Now, grid combat is one of those things that's difficult to do in a play-by-post format generally. So people have come up with different methods, for example, using Roll20 or just drawing things and then sharing screenshots with their players. In this case, what is happening here is what the image you're seeing is actually being drawn as it's called. So you can see that we have a grid that's labeled A through H for the columns and 1 through 7 for the rows. We have various icons for the various players. In this case, we have 5 players and then a pink icon, which happens to be the Empress being opposed in a final battle. And we have a drawing, so we've got some walls. So this is fairly simple, except for the walls. Now, is this just a picture? Well, let's just edit it. So when I edit that, you can see here, this is the entire map is being laid out. First of all, we see a call to otfbm.io, that's ontheflybattlemap.io. It's a grid that's 8 columns by 7 rows. The next part is the icons. So we have in location E1 in purple, label Empress, then the slash and the second icon. At location D1, Garth, and there's no color after the 1, so it just defaults to black. D2 shows Ruby, D6 is Hash, E2 Mavis, E6 Hassan. Now the last part is the map drawing. So the underscore before and after show you the map drawing. Start at D5, go to D8, draw a line to D8, to A1, to I1, I8, F8, F5, right? So that's pretty simple. And so I say it's simple, but you're really just tracing a line from coordinate corners to coordinate corners. So once you do that, then you can see that it is drawing the lines, and then we have the 6 icons that I drew. So that's pretty simple. Now, theoretically, what a player could do is, well, I won't do that. A player could say, okay, well, I want to move my icon. So if the player hits quote, well, that didn't work. Okay, so if the player hits quote, oh, this won't work because this game is closed. All right, well, if the player were to hit quote, then they would gain access to something that says square bracket quote, and then it'd be a slash end quote at the end. But then they would have all of this code. So they could just copy that and then move their icon. So if Hash wanted to move from D6 to G7, you could just write G7 and post the same image, and it would show an updated battle map. So that's pretty useful. Now, this is kind of plain, some battle maps are a lot more sexy. So here's one that I did for a 4th edition game. I put it up in a spoiler, but you can see that this has 11 columns and 18 rows, but it has a grid and it has a background. Now that's pretty awesome. So you can see that I've got a wagon. I've got 4. These are players that are in black. Then I've got enemies indicated with red. So how does this happen? Well, let's edit it. So if I edit this, then you can see that all that's really happening is the same. We've got the call to otfbm.io, the grid size, then some codes for where all the icons are going. Then we've got this question mark at the end Oh, you can see in the wagon that there's a capital L symbol in the end. That makes it a large. That's why it showed up as 2 squares by 2 squares. Then we've got the question mark, background, a link to a to an image on the internet. Now, it doesn't always work just as well as that. Like this system will automatically put grid lines on. So the grid lines you see in the image are in fact drawn by OTFBM over top of the image, right? Now, if your image already has grid lines built into it, like maybe it's a dungeon map or something, then you can adjust the settings and what have you in order to get it placed just right. So if you go to otfbm.io or .com, you will see documentation. So the user, not the user, but the person that made these has all kinds of things about using the grid, using background images, drawing those walls and doors. And then looks like you can put an arrow. Well, that's pretty cool. There's just a lot of stuff here. Putting in a fog of war. Interesting. There's just a lot of neat options that they really spent some time thinking about. And you can see it's all just these calls. And so the key part is that this is not an image that has been statically created in some paint program. It's actually being drawn with the icons being put on it, and by this some fairly simple amount of formatting code. And so what you see there then is your players can quote this, or you can just copy it. You paste into the next one. You move the icons for the individuals or creatures that are moving, update it, post a new one, bam, simple. And it's all just being handled by this remarkable website. And I am very impressed with it, how easy it is to use and to create those battle maps. So not every game requires battle maps, but when you do need them, finding them is something of an art. This makes that art simple. Anyway, I would like to thank the creator of OTFBM, who I don't know who that is, but go to their website and you will be able to secretly admire them as well. This is Qralloq, and this has been Gamers exPlane QQ or Qralloqian lore.